It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Wednesday, October 15th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content. It's going to dig a little bit more into what the Flyers are doing with Jett Luchanko and Nikita Grebenkin.
Sounds good.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade, and I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 20 years, Russ Cohen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com. You can win $300 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. To keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter. And of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, we have been, asking some good questions about whether they've put Luchanko and Grebenkin into the lineup, or where they put them in the lineup. We're going to get to all that, plus your mailbag questions. Want to talk a little bit more about the game from Monday night that we didn't quite get to on yesterday's show. First off, we didn't even really talk about the game presentation at all.
True.
And the tribute to...
You just had a small window.
That's talking about the Bernie tribute, and it looked so good.
It was great.
The video, I cried watching that video. And then, of course, post game, seeing the player of the game is going to be the iconic Bernie Parent goalie mask.
I grew up with those masks, so I'm partial to them anyhow. So it was cool.
And I know my family actually has one of those signed by Bernie Parent. So nice, really, really cool. And it was really nice for Sean Couturier to present that to Dan Vladar after that game. Absolutely fitting, as it were. But was there anything else, you were there as far as the game itself or all of the pomp and circumstance that you noticed?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the pomp and circumstance was good. They destroyed Baba O'Reilly. Like this, they keep wanting to play it, and they threw this massive baseline into Baba O'Reilly that even John Entwistle couldn't have played. It's just, I don't understand it. It's just, so that was a little weird. But no, I mean, everything else flowed well. Actually, it was kind of tight. They dropped the puck at 7:15.
Good for them.
Yeah, 7:14, 7:15. That's pretty good. I mean, because I was just everybody gets a little antsy after a while. Come on, let's get this going. So that I felt like that went well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, coming from Flyers practice, we did see Cam York in a regular jersey. So that is an excellent sign. We still don't, as of recording, have confirmation if he's going to be in the lineup on Thursday. But yeah, it seems like it. But, we'll see for sure. I don't want to rush him back if he's not 100%. That is certain. Now, what's going to be interesting is who comes out at this point, because I think Emil Andre certainly earned himself another game.
We think that, but I don't know if the coach thinks that. I know the coach said they put him in a tough spot, whatever. For me, it's easy for Rick Tocchet to send Emil Andre down and keep Noah Juleson in there. It's just easy.
Yeah, I know, but is it the right thing to do?
No,
maybe not. And,
no, but I think that's the easy thing to do.
Sure. But we'll see how that plays out on tomorrow's show. We'll talk about it for sure. I was, wandering around the NHL Edge stats because sometimes they're useful and sometimes they're just amusing.
Right.
But especially with some of the speed stats or the
speed things are really kind of interesting, only because. Sure, we noticed there's a little uptick in Bobby Brink, but that's straight line skating. Straight line skating doesn't tell the whole story about somebody skating, So it's you caught that. Okay.
Yeah, I think, you just have to put it into context with everything else that the player is doing, right? It's just flavor to the story of the player, right? And so Bobby Brink, as you just brought up, he's got the 6th fastest max skating speed of the season thus far in the league. at a little over 23 miles an hour in a particular stretch
Mhm.
that he did. And then another stat that I was assuming would be the case based on his minutes, but Travis Sanheim was second, not first, but second in the league as far as most miles per game at 4.43.
Yeah, I mean, at some point he might as well just go into the Tour de France in the off season because you might as well. I mean, you might as well just keep that going during the summer too.
Yeah, maybe. And then one of the other things related to the Dan Vladar narrative thus far is that we were pretty clear in our season preview and when we talked about what the goaltending was going to look like, even before the Fedotov trade, we said that our goaltenders need to have 900 or above save percentages.
Mhm.
For the Flyers to earn those extra few points we thought they would get this season and maybe have an outside chance to make the playoffs here.
Mhm.
And Dan Vladar has done that for his first two
He
games.
has.
So they have an NHL Edge stats, a percent of your starts that are above 900 for there. And so that is a good start for him. And then they also have saved location zone maps in terms of where goaltenders make the most saves and where they're maybe vulnerable. But Dan Vladar is above league average in every single location.
Mhm.
There for now.
No, it's good. He's
In
off
terms
to
of the key locations,
yeah.
right?
No, he's off to a good start for sure, and he is making some big saves. The question is, does Sam Ersson still think he's going to get 65 starts? I'm going to have to
Well,
say he probably does not feel that
he
way
is
anymore.
no, and I don't think he is, I mean,
No,
we
he's
said
not.
55, 56.
I don't
That's
even know if he's
even
getting that.
maybe pushing it right now. But
Yeah,
again, we're so early into the season.
it
I want
is.
to reiterate my mantra from the Nemesis on Monday. It's too early to
It's
make
different
any
with
assumptions or
goaltending though,
judgments.
because goaltending is like a vibe position at times, and
Mhm.
when you don't start the season and you don't start the first home game, you're not the number one. Like that's
Right.
clear.
Right. Yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting storyline for the Flyers this season in
Yep.
terms of starts, but very pleased with Dan Vladar
Yeah, he's
in net
been
so
really good.
far for the Philadelphia Flyers. In digging in, they have stats for skaters by zone time
Mhm.
distribution,
Mhm.
not just the goaltenders, but the skaters too. And you look at the neutral zone stats, and it's like 8 of the 10 are Dallas Stars, and I'm like, what are they? Is Dallas just spending their entire existence in the neutral zone? But
It's
that was
interesting.
the one little weird thing that I
Right. Yeah,
noticed
I can't
in these
explain it.
early goings.
I'll have to watch and see if something jumps out.
Yeah. Yeah, but some good early stuff for the Flyers
For
so far.
sure.
That is for sure, despite only having the one win
Yeah.
out of 3 games there. But the main topic of today is, of course, looking at Jett Luchanko and Nikita Grebenkin and their usage and the results so far, and what we think they should do differently, maybe to kind of maximize what these guys bring to the table, right? And in the last couple of games, as we've seen, they've been on the same line. So it's really interesting to start out by looking at that fourth line for the Flyers. And, obviously very limited ice time because it is the fourth line there.
Not for
So that,
everybody, but for
well,
most of the line.
right. So just looking at the line as a whole for all three of them with Garnet Hathaway out there, the line had 6 minutes and 7 seconds of ice time against Carolina and 6 minutes and 28 seconds of ice time against Florida. Now, I think it's partially due to the competition and who they were playing that they got such limited ice time, but it feels even lower than maybe it would have been against like a mid-range team.
No, it's lower because I could make you the argument because we were already talking about it in the press box where the game's tied 2-2. And I looked at the people next to me. I said, how much is Luchanko going to play now? And they were like, 2 more shifts. And that's about what it was. And it's like, so here's the thing. This is the catch 22 of it. I once praised Rick Tocchet for playing Steve Stamkos when Barry Melrose wouldn't. Now he's in that boat and he's not playing Jett Luchanko. Now you may say, hey, Russ, things are going good. They've got a set top three. Okay, but they managed to get Grebenkin more minutes in that game by putting him in a spot for Michkov. So you're trying to tell me Luchanko couldn't have gone in there for Brink, emptying that goal aside. He vacated his responsibility on the power play and gave up a goal. You couldn't have sat him for a shift or two and put Luchanko in there to give him a little more ice time and send a little message to Bobby. You weren't going to bench him for the game or anything, but that's what I'm saying. There's points in the game where he could get other looks, because I saw plays get derailed because Garnet Hathaway is on that line.
Right. So if you look at kind of the scoring chances that fourth line got versus Carolina, they had 4 scoring chances for 3 against, but it was even 2-2 at the high danger level,
Yeah.
right? So you look again at the game against Florida, that those 3 were together again as a 3-person unit. Only 1 shot for, 1 shot against, 3 scoring chances for. So 1 less scoring chance for in a little bit more time. And the only rush attempt they got was in the game against the Panthers. So they're not generating the offense that you think that they might, given the matchups that they would get as the fourth line.
Part of the problem is the third pairings, the pairing that's out there with those guys.
Could be.
And I noticed that. And that sort of derailed them a little bit for the breakout of it all. Now, Luchanko made some good defensive plays. He's still not shooting the puck. Like, that's just a fact. We all talked about it. I talked about this on Sirius today. You could be a pass first guy, and we all understand that. But there's not a lot of room anymore in the NHL for just assist guys. You have to score, and you have to take shots when you get the shots. And he's going to have to do that. Like, he has to change that part of his game.
Well, we're going to dig more into Jett Luchanko's stats as well as Nikita Grebenkin, and then talk about those changes coming up next. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. It does all the heavy lifting. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending. You'll finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. It helps you notice inefficient investment allocations. You can discover forgotten 401ks from old jobs. You'll save even more money that you can then turn around and reinvest. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. On tomorrow's show, we are going to catch up with the latest from Flyers practice, including the status of Cam York. We're going to preview the Thursday game against the Winnipeg Jets, who are really an enigma, I got to say.
Oh, they're already in town. Like, they were in town. I was shocked how early they were in town. So they're going to have plenty of time to acclimate themselves.
That is for sure. And then we're going to do our Thursday prospect check-in with Jack Martag. So excited to talk about him and our expectations for him at Boston University this season. Getting back to Jett Luchanko and Nikita Grebenkin, we were talking about Jett Luchanko, so let's continue there. Obviously, 2 games so far. He's had a total of 16 minutes and 28 seconds on ice, 7 minutes and 40 seconds in the first game, 8:49 in the second game. So a little bit more there. Total of 4 shots on goal. And I think, one of the interesting things about the kind of ice time that he's been getting right now is the zone starts, that he's gotten a couple more offensive zone starts than defensive zone starts. Obviously, most of them have been on the fly, but given his defensive skill, one would think he might have been out there at least 1 or 2 of those times, right?
Yeah, he's definitely playing good defense. You could see it in the last game. And the whole entire time. Like that part, he's got down.
Yeah, so that was a little bit surprising to me. Now I understand maybe, with Sean Couturier, you're going to lean toward him and Noah Cates as your two guys to have your defensive zone starts, because it's certainly not going to be Trevor Zegras, right?
No.
Right. So I think that if you're rotating your defensive starts between Couturier and Cates, I get it to some degree, but I do think at some point, maybe against weaker teams, they're going to need to throw him out there for a defensive zone start.
Yeah, I mean, you have to do it. I mean, how else? Again, if he's not going through all facets of the game, then he's not going to learn at the NHL level.
Yeah, and I think he needs to get more face-offs,
He
like
does.
live face-offs in games. And, no matter what zone it's in,
Right.
right? So, you're looking at only 5 full reset zone starts that he's gotten over those 2 games. And, the exact face-offs that he's taken, he was 50% across the board between the 2 games, 3
Which is
and
good.
3 and 2 and 2, right?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's why he should earn more.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be something that I want to look for. But the problem is the mechanics to get him there. And I think the other interesting question is how Luchanko's fate is tied to Grebenkin's and vice versa, right?
Which is unfair to both.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be like, hey, we got these new guys. We're just going to keep them on the fourth line because, it's easier that way. No, it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, and you look at the 2 of them again being on the same line, their numbers are going to be very similar in terms of zone time, but when you're looking at a guy like Luchanko and the fact that he is on that line with Hathaway, who's used on the penalty kill, it's not like he's a stranger to defense.
No.
Only like 37% of their zone time overall is in the defensive zone. And I just think that's a missed opportunity.
It is. It's totally a missed opportunity. We definitely give him more ice time and help him get acclimated.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about Nikita Grebenkin and wanting to move him up into the top 6 just to give his offensive game a greater chance to shine, which
Right.
I think, he's lucky in the sense that Luchanko's a passer right now, which we criticize, right? We do want him to shoot, but Grebenkin could, in theory, be the beneficiary of that, but he isn't right now. And
because of the other guy on the line. I don't want to listen, in a perfect world, Garnet Hathaway could play the fourth line. If you don't expect any offense, he'll do those other things. But now you've got these 2 other guys that could give you offense, but you put them with him. It's like, how are you expecting much?
Right. So he got 9 minutes and 37 seconds on average between the 2 games, which is higher than Luchanko, as we mentioned, because he did get subbed out for Michkov when Tocchet was not thrilled with what Michkov was doing.
Right.
And it was 10 minutes and 37 seconds in the game against the Panthers. And I think, he did have some noticeable moments for sure. The effort is unquestionably
he did not
there.
do anything to warrant low minutes. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I would say so. I think his mistakes are there, but at a minimum.
Yeah.
And that the effort is always there. He's net front when you need him to be. But I think he's also digging in the corners a little bit. He's doing little extra things that I might not have expected from him at first.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, right now I would put Hathaway in the Delorier role. And so when you stop using the fourth line, you could plug these guys into other spots in the game. It doesn't mean you can only give them 2 shifts in the third period because that's unfair to them.
Right. And that's where you allow for that rotation, right? So let's make it less of a punishment for Michkov and allow it to be something that's part of a regular rotation. So it's not getting in Michkov's head that he's being replaced, right? It's just part of a regular rotation that Grebenkin gets 2-3 shifts, a period or during the game or whatever you decide it is.
When the game is tied, maybe when you're down, maybe
whatever the situation warrants. I think if you set up a rotation, so Grebenkin gets some time up there, Luchanko maybe put Jett Luchanko out there with Tyson Forster and Bobby
Right.
Brink and see
Yeah.
what happens. Just
Yeah.
see what happens.
Right.
You know?
There's no harm in that.
I don't think so either. And I think that if you put Jett Luchanko out there, like I said, with Tyson Forster and Bobby Brink, I think he's going to shoot because I think like the peer pressure of those
Yeah,
wings,
I think so.
it's too high. It's
Yeah.
too high to not start thinking about
I
playing your
think he would
game a
just
little
be
differently.
excited to get the chance. I can't imagine.
Mhm.
Look, he's thrilled to get any NHL ice time, but he would be really super excited in that situation, even for a couple shifts.
Right. And if to your point, that fourth line was getting the third pairing defenseman, if Travis Sanheim is out there, even like Jamie Drysdale's out there in terms of the
It would
kind of
help.
passer, it would help. It would absolutely help. And I don't think these are huge changes. Like we
These are not
said,
big things to ask.
it's just selected shifts
Mhm.
in easier situations. Maybe it's against easier teams, but this is what you have to do to develop your prospect.
Yeah, it's a couple different levers, but they're definitely doable without upsetting the whole apple cart.
Any final words on these two and what you would do differently?
No, I mean, I think we covered it pretty well. I think if you want to justify having Jett Luchanko there beyond 9 games, then you have to play him more than this. If you don't, then it's just going to make it easier to send him back, whether it's Guelph or not. Like that's just the way
Right.
I feel like it will happen that way.
Yeah, and we just want to set these guys up for success because
Yeah,
the potential is there for both of them
yeah.
for sure. All right, we had a lot of questions about the Flyers and these two guys. You have a lot of questions about the Flyers in the early days. We're going to get to them coming up next.
The NFL season's here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. Again, I would stick with the New York Jets having the worst record in the NFL. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
All right, diving straight into our mailbag here. Jeff sent us an email. Now, it was like a few days ago, so it was before the last game for sure. So there's a little bit of a different context to it now, but it's still an excellent question. And that's why I wanted to include it on the show here. He says, I'm confused why the Flyers, coming off the fourth worst record last year, would want to sign veteran defensemen instead of playing the prospects. There's no playoff expectation this year, so why not evaluate the youngsters? Seeing Andre and a healthy Bonk playing every night would be much more interesting than Gilbert and Juleson. Let the kids play.
I don't disagree, but this is a veteran coach who wants veteran defensemen. And now at some point when Risto comes back, it will get worse.
Yeah,
You're not
I
even
think
thinking about that part.
I know that's going to be the interesting twist here if and when that happens, right?
Right.
Because I think that's where the spots are really thin. And I think, obviously, as we've seen, Zamula is on thin ice, pun intended, with hockey, but he is. I mean, it was right to take him out of the lineup, I would say, except like you could make an argument to take Juleson out, but I think with the particular people, I don't know that I would have put like Andre and Zamula out there together, for instance.
Right.
But that being said, I would play the younger guys too. I really would. And I think that, signing one of those guys made sense to me because you can always use an extra depth defenseman that's a veteran that you can put in the press box if need be. So like the Juleson signing honestly checked out to me. The Gilbert signing, I was like, I don't know why we need him too.
Piling on. But again, unless they're worried about Risto and they don't tell us that. Okay.
Now, we talked a lot about Dan Vladar and his early success here, and we've only seen Sam Ersson play one game, but there are some things that he's continued to do over his career thus far. And at Knoxter commented, Ersson can't keep kicking everything out with this team around him. It causes chaos in the defensive zone since no Flyers ever control the puck.
Yeah, we talked about it briefly on a previous show, and I think that
Mhm.
is part of the reason why Vladar is sort of getting the nod. Yes, he's playing well and stepping up to the plate, but he also freezes the puck a lot more.
He does, or at least, like, controls it briefly enough to make a decision where to toss it
Yeah.
off to with
Although
his
he did
glove,
have one
right?
in between moment
He
in the
did,
last
he did.
game, and that was, then it got heated because I forget who it was that ran into him, but for the most part, it's been pretty decisive about that.
Yeah, I would agree, but yeah, it's a really good point,
It
and
is.
I think it's gonna be one of those things where maybe Ersson can play like that against a faster, like, if he was the goaltender of the Colorado Avalanche, he could play like that,
Right.
right?
Yeah, because you got Makar back there and those other guys that are just getting the puck
That
out
just take
super
the
quick.
puck and go, right?
Right,
And the
right.
Flyers are not that, and
They're
we
not
saw, like, their rushes in that game against Florida were very slow at
they
times,
were.
and it was kind of awkward to watch, so I think that it's a fair point in terms of adjusting your style to match the team in front of
Yeah.
you a little bit. At Polar Bear 210 has a trade proposal
Okay.
here saying, I think Briere should package Tippett and Drysdale and see what interest is out there to get a legit top 4 D man, a guy with size and two-way game that can stabilize the D until the prospects come.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that would be enough to get Rasmus Anderson. I don't.
Mhm.
But again, his contract's up. He'd have to agree to another contract. If you go Bowen
Right.
Byram, we're all pretty sure he's going to free agency. Doesn't mean the Flyers couldn't be the highest bidder there and you get an inside look, but I wouldn't want to give up those assets for a guy that you're kind of guessing might
Right.
resign. So it's hard to find somebody that's going to fill that bill, but something could shake loose by the deadline.
Yeah, I think, I would not be upset if those 2 guys were the guys that were
Right.
packaged. I think
I think the thinky's right on that.
Yeah, I think so, and, like, last season when they made that trade with the Flames that sent Farabee and Frost away, I was not sure at the time that those were the right guys to package off
Right.
in a deal. I think Frost especially,
Yeah.
I was a little bit salty about that aspect of
Mhm.
it, but I think Tippett and Drysdale are the right package, plus a pick or something like
Right.
that. That's certainly something I would put on the table if
Yep.
I was Danny Briere. We have a couple of polls with some good questions here. So Paul P14 on YouTube commented, guys, I think you're contradicting yourselves a little bit, saying Tocchet should let Michkov play through his mistakes and then complaining he only has 2 shots on goal through 2 games is proving Tocchet's point for sitting him. Not skating is not a mistake, it's a hustle issue.
No, I don't think it's a hustle issue. Look, he has still an issue where in the third period he's taken some dumb penalties. That's a fact.
Mhm.
Torts did not cure him of that. For all the people that said, "Oh, John's going to be the best thing for him," well, so far he hasn't been. He actually Mitchkov's been better without Torts than with him. And he proved that when Torts was gone last year. But the problem is that Mitchkov plays differently when he's got all this other stuff being asked of him. And then he's not going to shoot as much.
Right.
You can't have all these restrictions with this guy. You have to take some of the bad to get all of the good. Like that's just the way he is. And once you start changing that, you don't get that. Look, has he tried at Michigan? No.
No.
Has he even been around the back of the net, side of the net?
Not
Much.
really.
Not much.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would also say that mistakes are different than not executing the system,
Right.
right? So Tocchet is trying to manage his not executing the system. It's not necessary. Like I would say, let him play through mistakes that are
Mhm.
pure mistakes. But if he's not executing the system, that's where I can sort of understand where
Sure.
Rick Tocchet is
Yeah,
coming
I'm with
from.
you on that.
So I know it's kind of parsing things, but
It is.
I think there's a difference between those 2 different things. But I mean, it's a fair question to
It
ask.
is.
That's for sure. That is for sure. Other Paul McLaughlin commented, even though being in the league a while and a veteran, there has to be a way to coach Tippett and tweak his style from being a straight line player to a guy that has some movement to allow him to get more breakaway chances and add creativity to his offensive opportunities. Any ideas?
I mean, this is his third coach,
Yeah,
right?
that's tough.
They've had an interim, then Torts, then Tocchet. So again, I think you saw a little bit more in the Florida game for some shifts, not for all
Mhm.
shifts. But again, I'm going to go back to when I covered Jeff Carter as a rookie. As a rookie, I was worried because he had this move down the right side, and if he couldn't make it, he was stymied. That was it. Well, Jeff Carter got past that. He got past that by the next season. Tippett has not gotten past that. He still tries that move, and everybody goes backdoor on him now before he does.
Right.
And if he doesn't have a step on him, he's not getting there because they all are aware of it. And that has really stymied some of his other scoring where he would get to the net.
Right. And I think that, he would like come down the ice slightly to the side,
Yeah.
right? In initially, and now he's sort of shifted to the middle.
Yep.
And I don't think that's going to work either.
No,
That he
teams
has
are
to
trained
mix
to
it up.
clog up the middle of the ice. They
And
are.
he has to go a little bit more east-west, which is
Yeah.
exactly what Paul here is saying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That he has to mix up the move a little bit. And no argument from us. That is
Nope.
for sure.
No, there's talent there, but it's still not been fully tapped.
Yeah. Just a couple of extra comments
Okay.
here related to Dan Vladar here at Ninefinger128 commented, almost saw Russ smile when talking about Vladar. That's a win. Which
Yeah, I mean, because he made a couple of really big saves at big times. There was that, he was left some horrible situations against Florida at times, especially in the third period, and he got past it.
Yeah. And secondarily, we got a comment about, of course, Russ's return with the home opener to the post game from outside the arena, where he's not well lit. Let's be fair, but
I've tried options. It's
yeah. So Michael, of course, refers to it as several commenters have thus far as Darth Russ.
Okay, I like
and
it.
here with Darth Vladar as part of
I like it.
the comments. So
Yeah. Makes sense.
It's very
Check
cute.
it out.
Yeah, it is for sure. We'll be seeing that
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit, maybe 41 more times or 40 more
40
times,
38, something in that range. Yeah.
something in that range. But that'll do it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. We will be back tomorrow to preview Flyers versus Jets and talk about the latest with the Flyers, as well as check in on Jack Murtagh at Boston University. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. If you've got questions you want us to answer on the show, just like we did today, let us know via any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology on the same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. It's every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. You got local analysis on a national scale with NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.